This video will show you how to do the movement tutorial. So I'm just going to begin by saving it somewhere on the desktop where all my GameMaker projects are. And I'll save it as movement and hit the create button. Then we're going to follow along these directions, which are going to ask us to add something to the game that you are already given. So this project already starts with the game that we already were working on from the previous tutorial, which is we have a paddle and a room created. So that's as far as we took it from before. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a ball to this and then add a movement to that ball, and then add a movement to the paddle, and we're actually going to add extra paddles. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a ball and we're going to add it to the main. So first we have to create a sprite. We're going to call this PR_ball. We're going to load the sprite as usual. And the ball is in the assets folder, and that's the sprite that we need. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that the origin is center. And the other thing that we could do is change the collision mask. So we're going to click modify mask and we're going to change it to ellipse, and then we're going to OK that. And then the next thing is we're going to add this sprite to, actually we have to create an object for the ball as well. Create object. This one's going to be obj_ball. Select the sprite for the ball. OK this. So we'll leave this as is for our ball. And we're going to open the room and we will select the objects and we're going to choose the ball and we're going to add the ball somewhere. And that's now going to be shown if we run the game. And there's the ball. Okay, so we added the ball to the room. Now next thing is we're going to move the ball. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell the ball to move, and we're going to move it by telling it to change its property X. So every object in the game has a position, or every instance of an object has a position. So we can change the instance's position X to make it move left and right. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to tell the ball to start moving initially and just keep moving with every step of the game. So we're going to go to my ball. We're going to add an event and we're going to add a step event. And for that step event, we're going to go to the control and we're going to change variable X to increase its value by 2 every time. So if I say OK to this and then I run the game, you see the ball moving and it will just eventually get out of the room. Okay, so that's one way to do this. And another way to do this is if I added code. So I can go in there and go to my ball, and instead of this, now what I can do is I can go to the control and I can add a code. And this code is going to do the same exact thing that my little drag and drop in did before. X is equal to X plus 2. So this code now, if I save it and OK this and I run the game, you'll see that the code, we'll move the ball the same way as I did with the drag and drop setting the variable. So there's two ways to do things in GameMaker. You just saw it. Okay, so in here, in my ball, in the code that I added, this is the actual code. And if I wanted to, I can add a comment moving the ball to the right. And the comment is anything that starts with 2 forward slashes, just like many programming languages, and comments are just explanation for what the code is doing. Okay, so if I run the program, so I'm adding these comments, if I OK this and I run the program, you'll see that comments don't have any effect on the game, right? So the ball moves just like it did before. Okay, so that's page 2. Now moving to page 3, what we're going to do is we're going to now change the paddle so that when we press the keyboard left and right, the paddle moves. So why don't we go to the paddle, we're going to add an event keyboard, and let's just do a keyboard right. And what we're going to do is we're going to add control, and in that control I'm just going to use the code because that's actually easier for me to just tell it, okay, well, when you press the right key on the keyboard, x is equal to x plus 2, so go to the right. And if I go left, keyboard left, then I'm also going to add code, and this time it's going to be for left, x is equal to x minus 2. So that's going to be the code. And now if I OK this and I run the game, if I press the left key, it moves left, the paddle, and then if I press the right key, it moves the paddle right. This is 2 ways to do this. And if I go to my paddle and I look at my code, you'll see that I wrote it one way, and there they have it in a different way. So I can do it this way, or I can also do it as x plus equals 2. So that's the shorthand notation for doing this same thing here, right? And if I save this code and then OK it, you'll see that the right will move just like it did before. So OK, and run the game again. And you will see that moving right works just the same as before. So just different ways to write this code. And again, x is just the position of our instance. Where is it on the screen? So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a couple more paddles and to the room. We're going to go double click the room. We'll go to objects, and I'm going to add a paddle right here, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and add another paddle right here, and then for its rotation I'm going to make it a 90. And then I can just copy this one, copy selection, and I can paste it. Just Control V to paste. And it will paste right on top of the other one. Now I have placed 4 paddles. These 2 have a rotation of 90, and these have a rotation of 0. Okay, so I'm just going to click the little checkbox here to save the form. And now what I'm going to do is I can see the room. I can run the game to see the room. And it looks like this, right? So if I go left and right, I can move these paddles. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a slightly different thing. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add mouse control to my paddles. I'm going to double click the paddle. I'm going to delete the keyboard events. So I'll just delete these. And I'll add an event for step. So step is every step of the game. Think of it as every second or every fourth of a second. So every step of the game, what we're going to do is we're going to check to see what is the image angle And if the image angle is 90, if it's one of those rotated panels that I added, we're going to make them move with wherever the mouse is in terms of Y. So vertically, we're going to move the rotated images, and horizontally, we're going to rotate the other images. Okay, so any image that has been rotated by 90, we're going to move its Y in terms of wherever the Y of the mouse is. And any object that isn't rotated 90 degrees, we're going to move its X position wherever the position of the mouse is at that time. So the easiest thing to do is just to go to Control and just add a code. And the code we're going to add is, you can copy this one from here. All right, you don't have to write the code. You can just copy this and then paste it in here. And then I like to fix the indentation like so. So please fix your indentation as well. And that's it. Now I'm going to click the little checkbox. And now what's going to happen is click OK again. When I run the game, I'll be able to move the paddles like so with my mouse. And that is one way to add a code to use these use the movement of the mouse to change the position of the ball. Another way to do it is using the drag and drop. If I wanted to do that, again, I'll go to the control and I'll be using these here, and then I can use this right here to test the variable. So instead of writing an if in my code, sorry, in the paddle, I was supposed to select the paddle. Instead of writing an if, you could drag this right here to basically test. And then instead of the curly brackets is these right here, and then finally the else is right here. So that's how you could do it without writing the code. But for me, writing the code is easier and easier organized, easier to write. And that is basically the end of this game tutorial.